community. Instead, the president and 2 other board members want to meet with the developer, and they're going to give us an update in the next board meeting. We, unit owner, are very upset because we would like to have the developer to come over and talk to us.
Right? Is not one person from the board of directors. We're just going to call it a friendly meeting in my home. And I'm not going to let one board member attend. If that's how they want to treat you, you can treat them the same way back.
Ah.
No problem. You can have the developer come over your home, right? And just say that we're going to have a meeting in my house and no board members permitted. Nothing illegal about that. Yes, if they want to meet with you that way, absolutely, of course. The board doesn't get to control. I'm not saying they don't have a fiduciary duty. They probably do have a fiduciary duty to let you know what's going on. They do. But instead of fighting them on about all of that and making it really, really complicated, I'm just saying have a meeting, but don't invite them. Okay? All right. You got it. Who do we got, VJ? Okay. How are you, Robert?
Oof. No, terrible.
Is it possible to still sell my condo with liens placed against the condo?
Good one.
It's going to be difficult. I don't know what was filed.
Have any legal recourse against the condo board for their failure to complete the required?
Good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not taking the proper actions to get the proper repairs made, then several of you may want to ask the court, actually file a court action to have a receiver appointed.
Which gets expensive.
Yeah, but if there's no choice, you know what also gets expensive?
Fines.
These fines, right? These fines are become, can be an insane amount of money at a few $100s a day. So I would suggest potentially getting a few unit owners together. Either maybe recalling the board, or B, if that's not going to happen, get a few unit owners together to see if you can ask the court, the circuit court, to appoint a receiver, right? And a receiver would come in, and the receiver would make sure to take interest that are the actions, I should say, in the best interest of the community to make sure that these repairs and these inspections get made.
Is there enough money in the reserves to pay for the repairs?
I'm not sure on that.
We don't
That
know.
may be the problem.
Yeah, we don't even know. But even if there isn't, then they have to pass
That
special
may need a
assessments.
special assessment.
You know,
But
bottom
now
line
you got
is,
the fines.
yeah, doing nothing is not an option. And it worries me that you're getting hit with all of these fines. So rather than do nothing, I would get a bunch of people together, quite frankly, divide up the legal fees that are going to be involved here. And by dividing it up, you can go ask the court to appoint a receiver. And if the court sees that your building is getting hit with fines and fees and the repairs are not getting made in a post-Champlain Towers world, they're going to appoint a receiver to manage the affairs of your property.
How tall is your building?
2 stories.
Okay, well, there you go.
2 stories.
That makes a big difference.
So okay. So if it's 2 stories, again, is a good question, Karen.
Yeah.
If it's 2 stories, you don't need
Nope.
unless this is Dado Broward.
It's Broward. He's Fort Lauderdale.
Broward. There you go. Just based upon size alone, you're going to need it. Yeah. So again, Broward
do you
and
have
Dade are weird.
Mr. Glazer, is it still possible to put the condo up for sale with the liens against it?
It's going to be hard if there are liens that have already been filed against your building. When you put the condo up for sale and a title search is done by the buyer's going to say, wait a minute, what the hell are all these fines?
Now, does
and
that matter?
You're going to have to pay them.
Does that matter if the language in the docs says that they don't?
That they don't have to what?
Well, remember what we talked about at the beginning of the show?
Oh, yeah. No, this is
different.
This is different. This is safety.
Oy.
Yeah, this is safety. You're going to have to pay them. You're going to have to make this right if you want to sell your unit.
Do you have a CAM or do you have an attorney with the association? Because how did this get to this point? You have a CAM. Shouldn't they have told the board?
You certainly should have. Yeah, but this is going to be a significant problem for anybody that wants to sell. If there's fines that's being run against the community, nobody's going to be able to sell unless those fines are basically paid off. Okay, so I hope that answers your question.
Okay. So if it goes into foreclosure, though?
Yeah, you got it. These are all these types of disastrous things are going to be happening all over the place.
But if he goes into foreclosure, will the bank pay the liens?
If his unit goes into foreclosure?
Yeah.
If he
just walks away?
If he just walks away from his using and the bank's foreclosed, when the bank sells it, then maybe the bank would have to pay it. Yeah, but he doesn't want to lose his unit.
I'm just
he probably
curious.
has equity in it.
Yeah.
There's so many of these crazy scenarios that are going to be going on now. But again, what I would do, when I see that my association isn't making these necessary repairs, potentially time for a receiver. Bottom line. Hey, let's do this. Let's take our final break of the hour. Taking your calls, 877-850-8585. Again, 877-850-8585. We'll be back right after this.
Is your home or condo?
to make sure things are done the
Very
right
cool.
way. Hello, I'm Gil Pomar,
what's
South
the deal,
Florida
Robert?
Regional President for Center State Bank, now the second largest bank based in Florida. Our bank, Center State Bank, has an amazing team of professionals who are exclusively dedicated to the homeowner and condo association market. Your job is not easy. There are repairs and new projects that need financing.
So
there are legal and
these are
social issues
closed
that
then?
need to be
You want those
understood.
closed.
There are also technology and servicing issues that your residents want to be improved. Why not choose a bank that knows this business backward and forward? Why not have a local banker who will meet with you face to face whenever it is convenient for you or your board? Center State Bank has over 2,000 associations as customers for a reason. Please give us a chance to earn your business. Call Terry Russo at 954-633-1666 to make it happen. Center State Bank is an equal housing lender and a member of the FDIC.
Need an insurance evaluation, audit, or quotation for your condo association or homeowners association? If so, then you need to speak with our insurance experts at Mack & Waltz. We insure over 800 associations, and we are the clear leader in this marketplace. Mack & Waltz has been in business since 1989. We write insurance on billions of dollars of property values. We are an independent insurance agency representing insurance companies which specialize in condo and HOA insurance. The staff at Mack & Waltz works closely with board members and property managers and regularly attends association meetings to help educate the association about their insurance policies. To learn more about how Mack & Waltz can save you money and improve your insurance program, call now 954-640-6225 and ask for Greg Waltz. 954-640-6225. Mac and Waltz Insurance Group. Let us protect you.
Karen, you're on in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the final segment of Condo Craze and HOAs here on 850 WFTL and on our YouTube channel. We're still working out the bugs, but you can join us there, Condo Craze and HOAs, and ask your questions in the chat box, but also call us 877-850-8585 if you are like that poor guy in Fort Lauderdale that has lots of problems going on in your condo or HOA.
This is going to happen all over the place with associations that are going to get hit with mandatory, having to mandatorily do their 30, their 40, 50 years, and people are not going to want to pass special assessments. They're going to ignore it. Fines are going to happen, and I can tell you it's happening already with associations that I know. So this is not fun times ahead.
No.
Not fun times ahead for Florida. But it'll take a couple of years to work itself out. Who do we got, VJ?
We have Barry in Miami.
Hey, Barry.
Hi, Eric. Hi, Karen.
Hey,
Hello.
How are you?
Good, good. These callers that say they have two-story condominiums, I'm not sure that they're 2 stories. Maybe they are, but maybe they're not.
So explain it to us. We're talking about, I guess, parking having some sort of an issue with that.
Yeah, let's go into that. If they have, a lot of these 2-story condominiums have a first-floor open-air parking area. That's a story. And if that's what they have, if they have 2 habitable stories with condominiums on top of the open-air parking, that's
Right.
a 3-story building.
That's 3
subject
stories.
to the SERS milestone inspection requirement.
Right. So even though there's only 2 habitable stories, 1 story of parking on top of that makes 3, and you're responsible now for all of the mandatory milestone inspections.
Right. I mean, they very well may have. I mean, when they say they have 2 stories, they may very well have 2 stories, but they may not be thinking that open air parking is a story.
But what
Right.
about the underground parking?
Okay, if they have an underground parking, it's very, very rare in Florida
Right.
to have a 2-story and underground parking. We have underground parking, but we have 22 stories. But if you do have, and there are very, very few of them, if you have 2 stories above an underground parking, if the parking garage is less than 12 feet high,
Oh, gosh.
that's not a story. That is a 2-story.
Okay.
That is a 2-story condominium. If the parking garage is more than 15 feet high, and it's not going to be, it's only in really big buildings. If it's less than 12 feet high, then it's only a 2-story building, and that underground parking garage is not considered a story under the Florida Building Code.
Right. So a great rule of thumb, I would think, is if you have 1 story of parking, but and on top of that 2 stories of habitable space, you're probably a 3-story, and you're going to be subject to all the inspections.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Really important to know, because I definitely don't think that a lot of condos know about it or actually want to know about it, to tell you the
Exactly.
truth.
Nope.
They take the position, oh, no, we're only 2. Forget about it, we're 2. No, you're probably 3.
But who's enforcing it?
No, your local building official
Oh,
should
they
enforce it.
are. Okay.
You would think that the local building official should know that and should be enforcing it, Barry.
I was worried about the enforcement, but it seems like these municipalities are enforcing it.
I think they will, and again, it's unfortunate that
It's a money stream for them.
It is going to be a money stream, but it's unfortunate that a lot of these things were not enforced. I've been saying this for years, that the codes were not enforced. Like I always said, they'd go after some guy who put an extra outlet in his house,
Exactly.
right? God forbid he did that, or put up kitchen cabinets without a permit. Man, that guy they would make suffer.
Yeah.
But as they're running over and they passed crumbling concrete in the garage, well, no, we'll just forget about that for another day. Well, I think that's now come to an end, because I don't think you want to be the building official who's working the day that a building comes down
Nope.
any longer. I really think that those days probably are over. That's what I'd like to think. Barry, thank you so much for keeping us on our toes like always. Thank you so much.
Great.
Who else we got, VJ?
We have Vivian in Palm Beach.
Vivian, how are you, Vivian?
Good, guys. How are you today?
Okay, how can we help?
I have a quick question. We were told by our board that we must, as per our town, get high-impact glass in common areas, despite the fact that we have perfectly fine working shutters in the common areas. And we looked it up, and Florida state law, from what we thought we saw, says that you don't have to have them, as long as you have working shutters, you're okay. Can our town supersede Florida
No,
state
no,
law?
but I'll tell you what you're normally finding. Let's say that in your building somebody's window breaks, right? And it's a non-hurricane resistant window. They're not going to let you put back a non-hurricane resistant window. In other words, you can't get a permit any longer for non-hurricane resistant windows.
For what units? Close to the water
For
or everywhere?
any units. Yeah, you're not going to be able to put back a non-hurricane resistant window. So if a window breaks,
Wow.
and needs replacement or repair, you're going to need to put a hurricane resistant window. But is there anything in the code right now that says the entire building must be changed right now? Absolutely not. Now, maybe what your building is thinking about is that in order to get a discount on your insurance, that your insurance company is saying, okay, look, change to all hurricane-resistant windows right now, and if you do, we'll give the building a tremendous discount on hurricane insurance. That has the potential to be true, absolutely. We've heard about that a lot. But
So the board can say you need to change so we can get this.
that's a whole other show we can do on, right? Depends upon who has the responsibility of window replacement. But no, there's nothing in the under Florida Building Code right now that says you must change your windows right now
Okay.
to hurricane resistant windows. Absolutely nothing that I'm aware of. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Sure. Hope that helps. Who else we got, VJ?
We have Paul in Miami.
Paul, how are you, Paul?
Good. How are you, Eric?
Okay, how can we help?
Two questions. One of them is that the board refuses to have meetings in English. They do everything in Spanish, and they don't care what we say or what some people are also not very technological, and they refuse to do the meetings on site as we used to before COVID. When COVID, there was an exception.
Right.
Everything started being on Zoom.
Right.
That's one. The second one is the recall question. We had a recall. We had all the ballots, so they found out about it, and then each member started resigning one by one, and they appointed new members themselves. That that they're in cahoots, I would say. And then the recall ballots that we have don't have the names anymore of the people being removed and replaced with.
Right. So
How does that work?
once a board member has been served with their recall, once they've been served with it, the board
They
can't.
haven't been served.
I'm-
We haven't served them because we had to wait the 60-day period.
I
to
understand.
find out.
So
And we had all the ballots already. We did
well,
that,
that's
the hard
too
work.
that's too bad though. So let's say that you had to wait. Yeah, and you go through the process of trying to recall somebody, but before recalling them, before the ballots are actually served, right? The person resigns from the board of directors. Okay? The person resigns. So that's it. The recall as to that person becomes moot. That's it. It's over. You wasted your time getting recall votes for that particular person. Okay? Yes, that person could quit and the board can fill that vacancy. Okay? That's how it works.
So the recall there, that's like a trick. You got a mouse and cat play because they find out and they do it again.
Well,
and they do it
again,
and they keep putting their own people.
Again, they can't, as long as it's done before the recall ballots are served. Once the recall ballots are served, and this happens many times, there's attempts to this too. Once the recall ballots are served, now the board says, okay, we'll try to beat this by having that person quit and we'll put someone on the board who we like. No, that's a game. That's a game that you're not allowed to play. Okay, and that's because the recall ballots have already been served as to that person. Okay?
Yeah, but they're always going to find out because when we're trying to get the ballots is where they find out.
I hear you, but
when you're getting 51% of the ballots of the community, it's very hard for them not to find out, and we cannot get them in one day.
I hear you, but you can't recall somebody that's already been removed from the board. But the board can't play that game once they've been served with the recall ballots. That's the only answer to the question, period. Okay? What was your first question?
About the Zoom meetings and the English.
Okay, so English. So, yeah, I've spoken about this many times. You know, I've said this. You know, Florida has, and a lot of people may be offended by this, but Florida several years ago voted for a constitutional amendment that says English is the official language of the state of Florida, believe it or not. So, do I have a problem with...
Is there a specific statute that I can read that you can tell me which statute is that? Statute?
It's not a statute. It's an amendment to the Florida Constitution that was done several years ago. And it says English, the Florida voters voted that English is the official language of the state of Florida, So I wouldn't have a problem at all if, if there was a rule, if a board, even a board made rule, all the meetings have to be done in English. There's nothing in the statutes that talk about this, believe it or not. And I think it's ridiculous. I think there should be. I think without a doubt all the meetings should be held in English. I think it's a...
Some of them hold them in French.
I've had that before. You know, I was at meetings with Brian and we walked out like we just attended a whole meeting in French. And people were really upset about it. And is there anything in the statutes that prevent it? Technically, no. Technically, nothing in the statute. But I think if anybody complained about it, they win. But I don't know about an actual case that's been decided by the DBPR on this issue. But I think if one was brought by a unit owner complaining, I think they win. I think the meetings must, excuse me, I think the meetings must be done
I don't know if
in English.
In
Why?
Miami, though.
Well, the documents are in English, right? The documents are in English. The laws are in English. And I think for that very reason alone, the bottom line is that all the meetings should be held in English. And
but the majority of people in Miami, they speak Spanish.
I'm choking
okay?
away on something.
Here's some water.
I think because of that.
No,
on that.
I mean, that's the difference between they should and they must. Because, I mean, we have
right.
people that do not speak Spanish.
Right.
They do. And it's unfair for them. But they say there's no rule that they can do it however they want. And if you don't like it,
I agree, and that's terrible. I think it's ridiculous that a board thinks they can hold it in Spanish no matter what. And again, if someone just came forward and said, I'm sorry, English is the official language and you got to hold it in English, I think that person wins. And I think they win every time. Okay? Hey, but that brings us to the end of the show, everybody.
Not impressive.
Sorry about that, but that brings us to the end of the show. We got to go. I'm getting that little whisper in my ear. Guys, thank you for tuning in to Condo Craze and HOAs. We'll see you again, speak to you again next Sunday at 11 a.m. Remember, we have the board cert class online this Thursday, 6 o'clock a.m. Still time to register. Just go to condocrazeandhoas.com. And, of course, while you're there, you can see all of the other classes that we have available. And, again, see you again and speak to you again Sunday at 11. Be safe, everybody.
Thank you, Eric.
Choking on something.
6 o'clock a.m.?
6 o'clock p.m. Please don't tell me I said
You
a.m.
did.